It all came crashing down for King Harris the Night. Everything went left at a gas station. Police pulled him over for reckless driving, only to find a gun tucked in his waistband and the heavy scent of weed flooding out of the car. In that one moment, his entire world flipped upside down. What started as a traffic stop turned into a headline that dragged his name and his family's legacy through the mud. The fallout didn't stop with King. It sent shockwaves straight through the Harris household. The empire that once looked untouchable suddenly showed cracks. T.I. and Tiny, long seen as hip-hop's power couple, were now caught in the middle of a storm they couldn't control. And just when people thought they'd weathered together, the story twisted even darker. Tiny dropped a bombshell no one saw. Coming. Divorce papers filed right after King's arrest. That wasn't just another tabloid rumor. It was a move that rattled the industry and made people question everything about the Harris brand. What looked like a dynasty built on fame, family, and fortune now seemed to be crumbling from the inside out. But that wasn't even the worst part. T.I. didn't try to save the marriage, and he didn't rush to protect King either. Instead, he did the unthinkable. He publicly disowned his own son. Yeah, you heard that right. Tip flat out told the world he was done with King after that arrest, leaving fans stunned and the family more divided than ever. Now the Harris household is drowning in pure chaos. Fingers are pointing in every direction, blame being tossed like grenades. Tiny says it's Tip's fault. Tip says it's King's fault, and King, he's stuck spiraling in the middle, watching his family rip apart piece by piece with no escape. T.O. some fans. King destroyed everything his parents worked decades to build, all for a fake gangster image that never lined up with his real life. But others argue T.I. and Tiny created the storm themselves, planting the seeds long before the world noticed. They say the blueprint for disaster was written years ago. The truth is, this wasn't some sudden meltdown. This was years of pressure stacking, cracks spreading in the marriage, in the parenting, in the family foundation. And now, the empire they once flaunted is collapsing in real time, with the whole world watching. That wild night in October 2024 turned out to be the final straw for King Harris. He tore out of that gas station like he was auditioning for Fast and Furious, tires screeching, reckless, completely out of control. But the stunt backfired instantly when he nearly smashed into a police cruiser. In seconds, the blue lights lit him up and reality came crashing down. The moment officers walked up to his car, it was already game over. The air was thick with the smell of strong weed pouring out, and right there in plain sight, a gun tucked in King's waistband. He tried to keep his cool, tried to act unfazed, but the damage was done. They weren't buying the act. The gun was snatched, and the cuffs were clamped tight right there at the scene. And just when it couldn't get any worse, it did. Once they ran King's name through the system, boom, a warrant popped up like a flashing billboard, dragging everything from his past into the spotlight. Speeding, DUI, suspended license. The list went on and on. This wasn't just one bad night. It was years of mistakes finally catching up with him all at once. And this time, not even a Harris name could shield him from the storm that was about to hit. King already had a record stacked high against him. If he had just stayed low-key that night, he might have slipped away unnoticed. But instead, his past came back swinging to crush him. And once that arrest footage leaked online, social media tore him apart. People clowned him as a trust fund prison punk, dragging him for pretending to be hood when he grew up with everything handed to him. The internet roasted him so bad, King tried to clap back with a live rant. He swore he wasn't a silver spoon kid, claiming he never ate off money and never lived the rich life people assumed. He begged fans to stop painting him as fake. But the more he talked, the more shook he looked. The cocky kid from Instagram was gone. His face said all. He knew he messed up. Surprisingly, King kept calm to the actual arrest. Even cops admitted it was the most composed they'd ever seen him. Still, none of that mattered. He landed in jail anyway, first in Cobb County, then transferred to Pickens County once that old 2022 warrant surfaced. Speeding, DUI, suspended license, his past wrapped around his neck like chains. But King's arrest didn't just make headlines. It cracked the Harris family wide open. Almost immediately, Tiny filed for divorce, and she didn't hold back. In her court docs, she listed King's spiral as the breaking point. What shocked fans most, T.I. didn't fight it. No statements, no pushback, no defense of his son. He just sat back, saying King made his own bed. What made it colder was Tip joking about the whole mess in interviews. He laughed about being a grandfather and even vowed to raise King's son to be the greatest gangster of all time just to torture King back. It sounded harsh, but it wasn't far from reality. Back in 2022, Tip had already gone public, warning King that the path he was on only led to jail. Tiny wasn't impressed. She said warnings weren't enough. According to her, Tip was never really there for King in the first place. And looking at King's childhood, the cracks show Tiny was pregnant while Tip was locked up. By the time Tip came home, King was already a toddler, raised more by his grandmother than his father. That distance shaped everything. King himself admitted he didn't grow up rich. He said the only time he ever set foot in his parents' mansion was when the cameras rolled for their reality show. His daily life was far from the world of fame and money. No wonder he spiraled. The warning signs were there long before that gas station bust. Like the infamous Waffle House meltdown in 2022, all it took was pickles on a sandwich he didn't order, and King exploded. He screamed at workers, cussing them out, recorded it like it was entertainment. But instead of looking tough, he came off spoiled. Fans pointed at Tip, asking why he let his son embarrass himself with no consequences. And when Tip finally spoke, posting a video warning King, it felt too little, too late. Tiny was furious. She said Tip should have stepped in years earlier, before the spiral. That tension only grew until it exploded in front of the world. The breaking point came in an Atlanta Falcons game. King and Tip went from arguing about privilege to straight up throwing punches in a VIP suite. Cameras caught it all. Fans couldn't believe it that T.I. swinging on his own son in public. The video went viral instantly. Some praised him for checking King, but others were shocked. For Tiny, that was it. Watching Tip humiliate King, then kicking him out of the house and telling him to survive on his own. That broke something inside her. To her, this wasn't discipline. This was betrayal. She had forgiven Tip for cheating, for jail time, for lies. But this, watching her son suffer while his father acted like it wasn't his fault, that was the final straw. So when Tiny filed for divorce, she didn't just cite irreconcilable differences. She laid it all out. King's downfall, Tip's absence, and a toxic cycle repeating all over again. Nah, Tiny didn't walk away quietly. She came with receipts. In those divorce papers, she listed everything. King's spiral, Tip's cheating, even his violent past. On the outside, they looked like hip-hop royalty, red carpets, reality TV, flashy cars. But behind those walls, it was chaos. King's collapse forced her to stop pretending. She wasn't just losing her son. She was staring at the man who helped break him. King had been loud for years, but Tip's silence was louder. Instead of pulling him closer, he pushed him further away. Online, he played the wise elder. Behind closed doors, he was halfway out. And for Tiny, that was betrayal. What stung most was how much King mirrored Tip's younger self. The jail stints, the tough guy act, the chaos. It was deja vu. Then came the baby mama drama, and things got even messier. Tip casually dropped on a podcast that King was about to be a dad. Tiny was blindsided. For her, it wasn't fatherhood that hurt. It was how Tip celebrated it. Even while their son was drowning, Tio make it worse. The whispers about King's baby mama Big Nana wouldn't stop. She was older, and people accused her of clout chasing, locking King down for a check. King didn't care. He proudly posted the announcement, "Welcome King Jr., time to take over," and even dropped a track called Dear Son. For a second, it looked like he was leveling up. Fatherhood softened him. He shared heartfelt captions, showed love, and spoke about breaking the cycle. For Tiny, that was everything she prayed for. But the hope didn't last. While King played proud dad online, that arrest footage kept circling like wildfire. Weed, guns, cuffs. The internet wouldn't let it die. His past kept choking him. And with Tip staying silent, King looked abandoned. The message was clear. His father had cut him off. Behind closed doors, Tiny was furious. She felt Tip gave up on King too soon. The same man who once rapped about trapping was now acting brand new. To her, that was unforgivable. Walking away wasn't tough love. It was cold. Truth is, this wasn't new behavior. Tiny had carried the weight for years, through Tip's jail stints, cheating, chasing fame. When King was little, Tip wasn't around. By the time he showed up, it was all lectures and judgment, no warmth. Just tough love, no foundation. And that's why when King hit rock bottom, she wasn't shocked. She was heartbroken. Even when Tip tried to play dad in public, like checking King for flashing guns with Boozy Son, it didn't land. To fans, it looked like fatherly discipline. To King, it was just humiliation. Tiny hated it too. She said Tip was flexing for the cameras, blasting his son instead of guiding him. She was tired of the social media dad routine. That's why, when King finally spiraled, she saw it coming. The dream family, the picture-perfect empire, it was all smoke and mirrors. Behind the fame, they were fractured. King was proof. From the mugshots to the baby mama drama, he became the lightning rod for everything they never healed from. And when Tip finally disowned him, Tiny snapped. She didn't just see a kid wilding out. She saw her son crying for help, chasing his father's respect, and getting silence in return. For her, that was the ultimate betrayal. The marriage was beyond saving as King stumbled deeper into adulthood. Every meltdown, every reckless post, every headline looked like one long scream for attention. He wasn't just chasing the streets. He was chasing the same image his dad built. Guns, clout, controversy. Only difference? King wasn't celebrated for it. Through it all, Tiny never let go. She stood in the storm, clinging to her son while the family empire collapsed around them. The whispers grew louder. Maybe King wasn't just wilding for clout. Maybe he was chasing the one thing money couldn't buy, his father's approval. Think about it. The flashy lifestyle, the guns, the viral meltdowns, the rush leap into fatherhood. It all felt like a desperate attempt to prove himself. Even if it landed him in mugshots, he wore it like a badge. To King, that was manhood. To the public, it was a soap opera they couldn't look away from. T.I., once the King of the South, was now criticized for being cold and detached. Tiny went from the loyal wife to the one pulling the plug. But most fans weren't surprised. They'd been watching Cracks for years. The reality shows, the Instagram smiles. It was all a cover for the chaos underneath. After King's arrest video went viral, Tip stayed silent. No defense, no statements, nothing. That silence was louder than words. Tiny, meanwhile, was finished. She wasn't playing ride or die anymore. Not for a man who let their son fall apart. Serving those divorce papers wasn't just an ending. It was a statement. And let's not forget, this wasn't the first time Tip's parenting drew fire. Remember the Hyman check, controversy with his daughter Deja? People were already questioning his judgment. Now, with King spiraling, it only fueled the fire. Fans started asking if Tip distanced himself because King reminded him too much of who he used to be. The truth? Tip's own rise was built on stories of trapping, jail, and redemption. But when his son walked that same path, instead of offering a hand, he turned his back. Tiny saw it differently. She didn't excuse King's mistakes, but she understood the cracks in his childhood. The distance, the lack of guidance. For her, it wasn't parenting. It was personal, The saddest part? King was showing growth. After his son was born in November 2024, he leaned into fatherhood, dropping "Dear Son" and speaking like he was ready to change. But just as he tried to turn the page, that viral arrest video dragged him back down. His past wouldn't let him breathe. Meanwhile, the internet kept running wild. Some said King was chasing street cred, carving his own lane without caring about T.I. Others believed it was always about one thing: earning his dad's respect. Either way, this saga turned into a masterclass on how fast fame, family, and failure collide. And the Harris family? They're living it out in real time. Now, the spotlight burns hotter than ever. Tiny is moving on, done making excuses. King is stepping into fatherhood, trying to find himself outside his parents' shadows. And Tip, he's the wild card. Will he step up, rebuild the bond, and say what's left? Or will he stay quiet, hoping it all fades away? Because this isn't just about one arrest or a Falcons game fight. This is about legacy, a family name, and whether the next generation breaks the cycle or keeps repeating it. So the question is, what happens next? Will King rise up? Will Tip admit he failed? And will Tiny finally find peace? This story ain't over, not by a long shot. But one thing's clear: the Harris Empire ain't what it used to be. And the whole world is watching every move. So if you thought the saga was wild, smash that subscribe button, drop a like, share this with your crew, and hit the comments with your thoughts. Because trust me, the next chapter is coming, and it's about to get even crazier.